Hi everybody. I just got finished ripping up some really nice white ash, and it's time for me to pull some new logs up to the sawmill, so that I'm all ready to go on my next milling day, probably next weekend. The next four logs are going to bring up a cherry, so I'm really excited to cut those. But there's something to consider if you do decide to buy a sawmill. Is obviously how are you going to move these logs around. Some of you might be fortunate enough to have a loader or a large piece of equipment, and I am not so fortunate. I couldn't afford both at the same time. But for my purposes, I would rather have the saw, and we're going to use the truck and lump some logs around. So let's go check it out. It doesn't want to roll. All right, so here we go. I've got four logs all pulled up here. This is from 2 or 3 different cherry trees. Just about ready to go. Now, one thing to also notice is how much dirt gets stuck in the bark when you drag the logs. So that is something to consider. That absolutely dulls your blade faster. If I had power up here, I would probably bring a pressure washer up here and wash these, but I don't have power close by, so it's not really an option. But it is definitely something to consider. And not to mention, of course, what you do to your yard. This is a part where we don't care, but it is also, something to keep in mind. All right, as you can see, the truck has no problem moving logs around by any means at all, but there is a lot of manual lumping around you got to do with the cant hook or the PV, moving logs around, getting them lined up, rolling them around. So it's something definitely to consider if you're not in great shape. I'm not, but I could still at least manage logs of this size. But they are definitely a challenge, and I'm definitely sweating by the end of the day. So it's definitely something to consider if you're thinking about buying a saw. Definitely think about how you're going to move these guys around. All right, thanks for watching today. See you guys soon.